Herbert Warren Richardson is the first recipient of an award that the World Association for Research on Workplace Mobbing plans to make periodically to a distinguished senior scholar or patron who has advanced in important ways the study of workplace mobbing as a scientific field. In Professor Richardson's case, this award recognizes the Edwin Mellon Press, the company he founded in 1972, named for his grandfather, and has operated ever since, which has released since 1998, that's over the past 28 years, at least 15 books explicitly about workplace mobbing, comprising work by no fewer than 30 different authors. These books include translations of foundational volumes by Heinz Lehmann, the basic founder of research on workplace mobbing, the man who gave this phenomenon its name, as translated into English by Sue Baxter and into Spanish by Sergio Navarrete Vasquez, and the 6-volume series by Kenneth Westhues, that's me. It is not only as publisher, but also as scholar that Professor Richardson deserves this award. Born in 1932, he was 66 years old when Mellon Press published its first book on workplace mobbing. He had been a prominent scholar already for many decades. At the age of 30, that was in 1962, Professor Richardson was an academic star, a professor at Harvard, where he had completed his PhD in the history and philosophy of religion. He was of Boston Brahmin ancestry. He was fluent in French, having studied at the University of Paris. He was an ordained Presbyterian minister. His classes were standing room only. Richardson was still at Harvard in 1967 when his first big book, Toward an American Theology, was published to rave reviews and spirited debate in all the main Protestant and Catholic periodicals of the United States. Richardson was at the pinnacle of academic respectability. Then in 1968, from a certain point of view, he threw it all away. Or, from a different point of view, he began to acquire maturity enough, as Kipling put it, to meet with triumph and disaster, and then treat those two impostors just the same. Richardson left Harvard in 1968 and moved to a Catholic institution, in Canada no less, St. Michael's College in the University of Toronto. The Second Vatican Council of 1962-65 had turned the Catholic Church toward ecumenism, Christian unity, and cooperation with Protestants. Richardson took the Catholic Church at its word and chose to reciprocate, shrugging off the age-old American Protestant prejudice against the Church of Rome. Richardson pushed the envelope further in the 1970s and 1980s by publicly defending the widely disparaged new religions, dissenters from both Protestant and Catholic orthodoxies, groups like Scientology and Reverend Sun Myung Moon's Unification Church. When these new religions were prosecuted, he wrote amicus briefs in their defense. Mellon Press published careful, balanced books about them. In 1,000 ways, Richardson insisted on the legitimacy of religious conversion and on freedom of conscience, the procedural right of every individual to live according to his or her own spiritual convictions. An ethic of mutual tolerance and acceptance of pluralism was a central theme of Richardson's voluminous work during this period, foreshadowing his interest years later in research on workplace mobbing and his aversion to this social process. It's a basic principle of mobbing research that whoever defends a pariah risks becoming one. By the late 1980s, the ecumenical movement had waned. The Catholic Church had tightened, and Richardson had worn out his welcome at St. Mike's. In 1989, for the first time in his 20 years on the faculty there, Richardson was commanded to sign a lengthy statement that seemed to him to require that his teaching conform to the official teaching of the Catholic Church. Richardson politely said no. Then he declined to accept a buyout and go quietly away. The upshot was what became and is still the most famous, most widely publicized case of a professor's dismissal in Canadian history. His trial before a special tribunal made headline after headline in all three Toronto newspapers and across the country, also in the Washington newspapers. The tribunal found him guilty of gross misconduct and upheld his ouster. Professor Richardson advanced the scientific study of mobbing in a hugely important way by submitting to that public trial, then publishing the full transcripts of it, and later providing me, Kenneth Westhues, with access to all relevant files for an analysis of what happened to him in terms of workplace mobbing. For every day during his trial, Richardson brought along a holy card of St. Joan of Arc and placed it on the desk in front of him. She remains his hero. In these ways, he exposed the process to public view, and that's prerequisite for studying and understanding it. We were honored 2 years ago that Professor Richardson, at the age of 92, was able to participate actively in the first Niagara Conference on Workplace Mobbing in 2024, and that the Edwin Mellon Press helped sponsor it. Today, regrettably, at the age of 94, Professor Richardson is mostly bedridden and resident in the Eventide home in Niagara Falls, Ontario. With luck, he will soon be able to watch the video of this presentation of the award. For now, Philip Viverito, military historian and director at Mellon Press, has kindly come to accept the award on Professor Richardson's behalf. And let's just get a picture of this here. I should read the citation. Yes. It says simply, Herbert Warren Richardson, in recognition of his contributions to research on workplace mobbing as scholar and as publisher. World Association for Research on Workplace Mobbing, 2026.
Thank you very much. It is my privilege as the director of the Edwin Mellon Press to accept and thank you for this award honoring Professor Herbert Richardson, who unfortunately cannot be with us today. Finally, I would ask that you take a moment during this day to remember him and the good works the professor has done over these many years. Thank you.